Hey guys, welcome to Conscious Connection. Now, when we have conscious connection, it's really important to create conscious thought. Because the importance of conscious connection is being able to control the internal dialogue so we're consciously communicating with other people. How do we do that? We went through auto. I'm just going to quickly go through it really quick just to recap. So number A, the letter A, is awareness. Awareness that you have an internal voice that's just chattering away uncontrollably and not really looking out for your best interest. And because it's not really looking out for your best interest, we got to be willing to do the U, which is up-level it. Now, up-leveling it creates conscious connection. It also creates conscious thought. And we're going to be able to consciously train, which is the T, consciously train the internal dialogue. How do we consciously train the internal dialogue? Remember, I think that when it's not consciously trained, we call it internal diarrhea, and which is the poo. It's kind of funny, kind of gross. P is for pocket. Now, the pockets are like here's my little pocket, when you are in a conversation and you're triggered. You're immediately triggered and you have pockets ready. So for example, when people used to, I would have a situation, where someone would say, oh, you're so stupid. Or not literally, they wouldn't say that because that's not what people say, but that's how I interpreted it. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where someone tells you something and you interpret it so much more harsh because it's a sensitive spot inside your heart. So someone might say, gosh, why didn't you do that this other way? I interpret it through the filters of my mind. My internal dialogue decides to say, you're stupid. Immediately I have a pocket. And the pocket says to me, I have exactly what I need to be able to do what needs to get done. Or another pocket is, I love and accept what's going on and I'm willing to put in the effort to create a better outcome. So those are types of pockets that I create. You can also have them really simple, just say the opposite, which is the O. So let's say you're driving down the street and you see a car that you really want. You've always wanted the car. And then your internal diarrhea or your internal dialogue kicks in and you're going, gosh, I've always wanted the car. And I just don't know if I'm ever going to have the money. Don't make enough money. I don't really like my job and I don't really like the people in my job. And you start going down the, dark hole of internal diarrhea. You create the opposite. Immediately you catch it and you go, I don't want the car. And just drive on. Move on. Get off of it. Don't give it food for thought. When you give your internal voice food for thought, it takes over. That's when you go crazy and you start thinking things that aren't into your best interest or those around you. Just create the opposite. And most important, keep it optimistic. Because, you are what you think. And so you might as well think optimistically. And of course, the most important is the O, which is the observer. The most important thing in life is to become the observer. Why? Because could you imagine your life to where when you're in a situation and the shit's hitting the fan and it's really difficult and people are arguing and they're triggering you and you just it's not that you're unaffected because your heart is so open, but you're not triggered. You're able to see things for what they are, not worse, not better. Just see things for what they are, not assumptuous. Just see things for what they are. They're just the observer. You're able to problem solve and to be able to emotionally connect and create better outcomes for yourself and everyone around you. How would you like that? That is the ultimate, is the observer. So we're creating conscious connection, which is conscious thought. Let's go ahead into a no-fail technique of connection. Let me ask you, have you ever been in a situation where, you're just having casual conversation with your partner and you guys are talking about, just life in general and it's very nonchalant. It's just whatever you're talking about. It's very superficial stuff. And then you say something, anything, which could be like, oh, thanks for picking up the kids. And all of a sudden, dang, it was like you said something mean or harsh and all of a sudden, hell bent loose. And that's like a positive one. Let's just say you have a little criticism, like, the next time you walk in the house, could you just put your shoes in the cubby? You do a little correction, or you say, hey, I've noticed that every time you use the water in the refrigerator, you leave it empty, or the ice trays or whatever. Could you fill it? You could have like a little correction, and all of a sudden, boom, it's like hell bent loose. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you ever have those situations that people say things like that to you, or you find yourself wondering what the heck is going on with your partner? The deal is, with the no-fail technique of conscious connection, is you got to realize that your partner loves you. They're not looking out for the worst interest of you. They're looking out for the best interest of you. Because when we have those situations where we get triggered with little tiny things, we're just bringing in all of our past memories and our past behaviors and our past behavioral patterns and our internal dialogue. We're bringing in all the superficial stuff, but underneath that superficial stuff, you got to know your partner loves you. They're looking out for the best interest for you, and they love you. So make sure that you know that going into it. So the first thing that you do, the eruption happens and there's miscommunication going on. And what do? Someone has to you got to walk through the doorway together. That means you're walking side by side and you both don't fit. One person has to walk forward. Allow the other person to walk forward. You take one step back. Meaning you're going to go first by saying, repeat exactly what they said. Just repeat what they said. One of the reasons why you do this is because many times when the eruption happens, people don't realize what they're fighting about. And the other thing that it does is you usually are fighting about the same thing, but just bringing it back to the moment where you're saying, didn't you just say that, like, thanks for picking up the kids? And you're like, yeah, that's what I said. And just repeating it back, you're saying, hey, I just want you to know that I said thanks for picking up the kids, and we created this huge eruption, and I can see that I've really triggered you, and repeat exactly what they said. And I can see that you feel as though you're doing more in the family than me, and I totally get and understand why you're feeling this way. Driving a lot every single day, and I haven't really driven a lot. You've been driving every single day back and forth and I haven't done any of it. I can see why you would emotionally get triggered. They're going to go, okay, yeah. You repeat exactly what they say. You get the affirmation, yes, that's right. When they say, yes, that's right, you can move on to the next one, which is relate. You can say, I kind of did it in the first one, but you relate saying, I totally support and understand why that triggers you. And the reason why, and give them the reason why it works for them. You don't necessarily have to agree with it. They need to be heard. Here, it's really important that they feel heard by their emotional state, because they got triggered into an emotional state. So you better recognize their emotional state, or you will not go anywhere. So you repeat back verbatim, word for word. They're going to say, yes, that's what I said. Acknowledge their emotional state. And then simply take responsibility. Just say, I apologize for saying that, even though it was no big deal. I apologize for saying that, and I just want you to know, state your intention. My intention was to genuinely give you gratitude for driving so much, because I know, and this is sandwich feedback, give them love, give them the correction or your intention, and end with love. I know how much you love and care for me, and I just wanted to simply tell you thanks for driving, because I know, again, the sandwich on the end, I know how much you love our family and you're really sacrificing. I really appreciate it. Sandwich feedback, take responsibility. Do apologize, but don't apologize for what you are and who you are. Apologize for the miscommunication, because that's not your intention. So you state your intention here. My intention was to acknowledge you. My intention is to express love to you. My intention is whatever it is, and let them know, begin with the end in mind. The reason why I brought it up was X. Tell them why. Taking responsibility and beginning with the end in mind. And then make a request. Just say, next time when we have this conversation, before, we get into an explosion, Could we create something so that doesn't happen? And they're going to say yes, because no one likes confrontation. And if you do like confrontation, you got to check out what stage you're living on, because that's a painful stage, and you're going to have a struggle keeping relationships that are lasting and thriving over the long term. So just simply ask for a request. It's okay to request. So ask for something. And then lastly, let it go. Because life's too short. Let it go. You came to an agreement. You agreed with what was going to happen. Now, let it go. That means the next time there's a little explosion, you can't say, and the last time that this happened, this is what happened and we didn't overcome it or whatever. Let it go. Don't dig up the past. It doesn't help you move forward to the future. This is called conscious thought. It's called conscious connection, where you're creating a connection of consciousness to be able to take your relationship to the next level. You must assume that they love you and that they are looking out for the best interest of you, while repeating and honoring them and their emotional state, stating your intention so you can create connection. Stating that you are apologized for how you were perceived because your intention was X. Give him sandwich feedback. I love you, I care for you, and this is why I did this. And remember, I love for you and care for you and want this. Make your request. And then let it go. And that is really taking the next step of your relationship and creating conscious connection. Because I know you're emotionally triggered. I know it's difficult to do this. I'm in a relationship. I've been married for almost over 20 years. I know how hard this is in the heat of the moment, but I can tell you it works. It works because you're allowing and honoring the other person. And when you honor and allow the other person to go first and to honor their emotional state, they create connection. It's like food for the soul when you're honored. When someone is honoring you and your emotional state and they're doing it from a loving place, that's a whole different type of connection rather than, doing it from an angry place. You have to separate your internal dialogue. You cannot let your internal dialogue run rampant and try to do this. You will fight, you will bicker, and things will go south. You're going to be on the emotional roller coaster of a relationship. You must learn how to control your internal dialogue, honor the other person, know the other person is doing the best job that they can, and so are you. Express verbally and articulately how much you love the other person. So I hope that this conscious connection can help you create better and more thriving relationships. And as always, be bright, be beaming, be beautiful, and most important, be you. Now go out there and live a life to love.